From architecture to painting and sculpture, literature to live music and theater. Radio 111 presents Bonnie G and Brayan Mendoza with The Desert Scene, your connection to culture and entertainment in the desert cities. Here's Bonnie and Brayan.
And welcome to The Desert Scene on Radio 111. Beautiful fall in the desert. We love that. It's fabulous and a lot going on. I mean, some good stuff. We're going to have some great guests a little bit later. But, you know, I know it's like the hottest story, and I know you've talked about it on your other show, Brayan, but we've got to talk about this horrible shooting with Alec Baldwin on the movie set Rust. I mean, there's, 1,000 questions as to how this could have happened.
No, you're right. So just because I did it last
I know you just talked about it.
I did it last time, so I'll give a quick summary. That same day, on October 21st, which is a couple days ago, and if you're listening to this, a week later, a week ago or so, that's the date, October 21st. Mm-hmm. So 7 crew members of the film's camera crew left the set in
protest.
Yeah, because of the lack, and this is a quote, "We cited everything from a lack of payment for 3 weeks, taking our hotels away despite asking for them in our deals, lack of COVID safety, on top of that, poor gun safety, poor on-set safety, period." So the gun had also been I didn't mention this last hour, but misfired 3 times before. It's a miracle no one got killed there. And so the 7 crew members left, and then 6 hours before the incident happened, 4 non-union members were hired off the street, essentially. And if it's Santa Fe, if you hired people off the street in Santa Fe, it ain't like Hollywood. How much experience,
right.
And then so basically the assistant director Dave Howells basically selected one of the guns and gave it to Alec Baldwin, and so Alec Baldwin basically called it like a cold gun, which means that it was empty. And so what had happened was he shot the gun at 1:50 p.m. and the details are still a little iffy. He fired the gun once, killing cinematographer Helena Hodgkins in the chest by shooting her in the chest. And director Joel Souza was not killed, but was shot around the shoulder area.
Taken to the hospital. But he's out now, right?
The next day he was taken out. So October 22nd, which was yesterday. And so they conducted an investigation, and they're conducting an investigation right now at the Santa Fe County Police Department. The movie production, Rust Movie Productions, is doing their own internal review. The New Mexico Occupational Health and Safety Bureau is also investigating.
They should, yeah.
Yes. And the IATSE Local 44 sent out an email, the IATSE being the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees. Their local division said that it was a single live round that was cause of the incident, and they have not determined anything yet. And the Santa Fe County magistrate has put out a search warrant. So multiple parties jumping on this. And people have heard my thoughts. Let's get on your thoughts.
So they have determined for a fact that it was a live round that was in the gun.
The IATSE, the union determined that, not the police department. At this point of this current time,
police haven't announced that.
They haven't announced anything.
Of course, this has been on the news. I mean, Rachel Maddow, everyone's had it, and had experts on, ballistics experts in movie industry. And there was one gentleman on, I think it was Rachel last night, and he had a gun. And he was showing you, and he said a prop gun on a movie set is supposed to be altered. They alter it so a live round cannot fit into the chamber. So there's no way. So obviously that gun was not properly altered. That's one issue. Why was there a live round in there? I mean, why? And who checks that? And Eric said, now I guess, I don't know if one bullet, but he said, if you have a bunch of bullets in a gun, it's heavy. Lead is heavy. And you should be able to tell that when someone hands you a gun. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's just so many safety precautions that weren't taken. And then you have to, I mean, Alec Baldwin was not only an actor, but he's a producer on the movie. And he bears, well, I think, liability for 2 issues. Number one, did he look at the person that came to the gun and double check, hey, is this cold? Let's check it. And what was he pointing at? Why was he pointing the gun at this cinematographer or close enough to her that she was shot? That's what I want to know.
And it's too much mystery around it so far that I'm even scared to say anything right now because I'm worried that I'm personally worried, of course, all this is allegedly. I'm worried about the circumstances, and I'm just in general like concerned because I don't want to misrepresent the situation.
Yeah.
And I also think that you're right. Alec Baldwin has some responsibility.
Some responsibility, yep.
And I was kind of caught with my pants down the other day because I kept saying, this kind of reminds me of Vic Morrow and John Landis, where John Landis, should have heard the concerns of the whole helicopter man when Vic Morrow died. But I think that's a much more different situation.
Well, this is more like Bruce Lee, right?
Bruce Lee, yeah.
Because now Brandon Lee, I'm sorry. Was that a live round that accidentally was in the gun? Was that a live round that killed him?
Yeah. Live round. Brandon Lee's situation was a negligent crew. The crew did not test the gun properly. And Michael Massey, who I will say no responsibility in that case because he shot the gun trusting the crew.
It said it's a cold gun and it's
and people, and he shot the gun, killing Brandon Lee right then and there. And Brandon Lee's family has spoken out saying that this was a horrible tragedy and nobody should die on set.
Yeah.
Nobody should be killed by a gun on set. And so the thing is that Alec Baldwin, he's a producer. I think this is a case where he has the power as a star and the producer that once he saw the people leave the set, like the walkout, he should have been like, you know what? Let's figure out what's going on.
Take a day off or whatever and get some people in here that know what they're doing.
Yeah. And exactly. Take a day off. This is going to sound like I'm being presumptuous here. He's getting paid a salary for this. Yeah. Take your salary, save the movie some money budget wise. Cause I know it costs every day.
But don't cut financial corners on safety.
Yeah. I agree on that because I know that it's a independent movie. Do not cut when
it's a life or death situation.
Yes,
exactly. The other thing that I'm interested to find out, I'm sure it hasn't been revealed yet, is how did this gun? He apparently pointed it at the cinematographer close enough, and then how did then also shoot the director who's okay? How did that happen? That's what I want to know.
That I'm trying to figure out too. Like I assume that maybe the director was right behind the cinematographer,
and it went through her. I guess
because a gun's gonna travel a bit. There's a reason why they tell you do not shoot in the air.
Yeah, because it goes up and then comes down and hits someone sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is a case where what happened there's so many ways you could have prevented this because you don't even need you can use CGI.
That's what they were talking about. A lot of movies don't even use prop guns. The shot is computer generated because Mayor of Eastham, they talked about that on Rachel last night. That series that I watched, it was all computer generated, all the gunshots, all of them, for that reason.
And it's not like it's going to be super expensive. Like if Alec Baldwin said, you know what, I'm going to give some of my salary, or anybody in general said, you know what, we got to
make sure the safety is. We got the people know what they're doing, and everyone's checking everything out. That's should be the number one priority. And
also, if your movie's good enough, even if let's say you use a completely fake gun, made out of wood, and you put a CGI effect of the gun shoot and all that, if your movie's good enough, no one cares.
Yeah,
no one cares how
true.
fake it looks, and in fact, they might even say you at least did what you could.
Yeah, to save your actors and your crew. Yeah, from getting shot.
And I'm going to say that now because obviously, this is a situation where we have so many precautions and so many things like computers, everything different from 1993.
You know what I would like to see? I wonder if out of this, you hope something good comes out of it, that some law is passed, or what law or rule or whatever regulation that bans prop guns on all movie sets for this reason.
Oh yeah, because
and all computer generated.
And obviously, maybe do some tax incentives or figure out some way to help out, maybe an independent movie studio to get computer generated, or at least have specifically or figure out some way to perfect the prop gun where it's not gonna kill people.
That's what I don't understand, because this expert, like again last night, said a true prop gun is altered so a bullet cannot fit into the chamber, and a real bullet, and they do that on purpose. So why was this gun not altered? That's what I want to know.
That's what I want to know too. And also just the fact that the crew walked out in the morning, should
have been a red flag. Yeah.
That to me is a strong indicator that Alec Baldwin should have said something, or somebody should have said something. Not just Alec Baldwin, the director should have said something. And you know what? The cinematographer, that Helena Hodgkins, I feel so bad for her family and for her too, of course. But she could not have stopped the film because it's her job to actually just film and do that. Yeah. But somebody in charge should have figured out, with the strike, the Yahtzee strike that almost happened, and these people walking out, we need to stop filming
and get this to figure out what's going on.
Figure it out, and also, if a gun misfired 3 times, get rid of it.
Hello, that's like 3 times of anything is a pattern. 3 times something happens, you need to
throw it out.
Change the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So you're going to keep using a gun that misfires all the time?
It's horrifying because that gun should have been the moment
they should have gotten rid of it.
The second time, get rid of it.
Yeah.
Third time, send it back to Hollywood or send it anywhere.
Throw it in the garbage, melt it down, whatever.
Figure it out, because that should not have been used because that clearly killed a life. And honestly, to be Alec Baldwin right now is not something I would want to be, because because not only, he does hold some partial responsibility in my opinion,
Absolutely.
But also just the fact
personal guilt.
And this is sort of, and I know that again, compared to John Landis, at least with Alec Baldwin, I do believe that there's actual guilt there.
Oh, remorse. Oh, he's made statements. I think and he has on 2 levels, not just the actor who fired the gun, but as a producer. He holds a lot of responsibility for the whole set and the whole atmosphere, because he, was in charge basically. And
also just in general, again, rest in peace, Helena Hodgkins, and I hope there's going to be lawsuits.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question. No question.
And if anything, this movie, there are 3 ways this movie
I hope it never comes out. I hope they just stop it.
No, it needs that movie. If they could not, if they could not keep the movie safe, if they couldn't afford to give their crew members a hotel room, if you can't afford any of that, why do you have...
You shouldn't be shooting a movie.
Yeah, that's what I was telling somebody. If you can't afford basic necessities for your crew, why are you making a movie?
Yeah.
What's going on? And it's an independent movie, but how independent is it if Alec Baldwin's involved in it?
Yeah.
Because if you can afford Alec Baldwin as a producer and as an actor...
Then he should be able to connect with a big studio. Yeah, I would think.
And I honestly think this movie, if it does not... if it's probably not going to get finished.
I hope it doesn't.
And if anything, if it does get finished, it's going to have a big cloud looming over it. And you know what? That's going to be not only some bad press, because it's going to backfire. It's just going to backfire. It's not like The Crow, where everybody wanted to see Brandon Lee's final performance, and that was a horrible accident, and the family encouraged it. This is a case where I don't even think wanting to see the cinematographer's final movie is going to be enough for me to watch it. I probably won't. I won't, actually.
All right, we'll be back with more and some happier stuff later on in the Desert Scene in just a bit.
The Desert Scene on Radio 111. Cultural events and the people who make it happen in the desert cities with Bonnie G and Brayan Mendoza.
We're back on the Desert Scene, so we may touch on that later, but let's talk a little bit. Let's find some other entertainment news. Anything happier than that?
I was going to say that, well, did you hear about downtown Palm Springs opening that park?
Oh, that's great. Yes. Very exciting.
So in downtown Palm Springs before the Village Fest, funny enough, on the same day as the incident, there was an actual event pre-Village Fest, and it's a downtown park. Have you been to it yet?
I have not. No.
So there's a park in downtown Palm Springs, and I think it's pretty cool.
Where is it exactly?
So it's sort of near at the intersection of the museum almost, right here.
The Palm Springs Art Museum.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, yeah, that's great.
Yes.
That's great.
So basically, they had this celebration where they had an ABBA tribute band, and also ABBA released a new song this week. I think it's called Just a Notion. It's this ABBA song that they were supposed to release in the 70s, and now they released it. So I was going to ask you, like, I know we talked about it earlier a couple episodes ago, but what are your opinions on ABBA?
So my question is, first is, the song that they released was recorded years and years ago?
Yes.
Okay, and what? Do we know why it took so long to release it?
They were asking Benny and Bjorn, and they said, no idea. We forgot. We forgot the reason why this movie's in there.
Yeah, I like ABBA. I like their harmonies. I mean, I thought they did some great. And I think we talked about this before. One of my favorite songs is Fernando.
Oh yeah,
because it's just very musically. It's just a very catchy song.
Yeah,
you know.
And you might be asking, wait, what does this relate to the Downtown Park? It's because there was an ABBA tribute band. Yeah, and it's one of those things where like I loved Fernando because it's one of those songs where, like you said, it's like I think it's much more musically heavy than their other songs. Like One of Us is pretty heavy, but it's weird because like if you don't like the way ABBA sounds, Fernando's pretty different because Dancing Queen and actually even Dancing Queen's pretty unique sounding, but like some of the ABBA songs, they have a certain sound to it, a certain vibe. But
they have great. I mean, if you're a singer, if you're musically inclined, if you're a singer, great harmony, just great harmonies. That's one of the best things about the group.
Now I know we talked about age and all that earlier with music. What's the appropriate age for someone to sing Dancing Queen? I think that's one of those songs where anybody can sing that at any age.
I don't think it makes any difference. It's just a fun song,
That's true. That's true. I know that we talked about how like. For some reason, if on stage I saw like a 20-something-year-old play Annie, I would walk out.
Well, the dancing, I think this song is more, we're singing about this 17-year-old girl that's dancing. We're not saying I'm the 17-year-old girl that's dancing.
And also, it's one of those things where it's also like just about the night out, being able to go out for the evening.
And have fun, dance around to music, yeah.
And also, ABBA is one of those bands that, I'm going to be honest, they do breakup songs way too well. Like they did songs like Knowing Me, Knowing You, One of Us, and The Winner Takes It All.
Yeah, that was a good song too.
And I think two of those were produced during the divorce. And I was watching like a documentary about how they said that one of the early signs of their relationships falling apart was the song Knowing Me, Knowing You, because they realized, you know what, if we can sing a song about breakups so easily with the line, breaking up is never easy, I know, but I have to go, then that's how do I put it this way? That's a sign that the relationships are not going to go anywhere.
Now, and I know, you know this, and I don't, were they two married couples? Or they were two married couples. Okay.
Married couples, and then they got divorced, and they did produce 2 final albums, but the problem was never that the breakup wasn't caused by the divorce. It just became a case of ABBA just never recorded music again because they went on their separate paths. Like Frida wanted to do her music career, Agneta wanted to do hers, and Benny and Bjorn went on to do Chess. Yeah. And honestly, there's going to be a local production, I forgot which company's doing it, of Mamma Mia. And what are your thoughts on Mamma Mia? Have you...
I've never seen it. I've never seen the movie. I've heard it's really fun. I would like to see it one of these days. Actually, I think somebody gave me. I think I have the DVD. I'll have to watch it one of these days. I just haven't watched it yet.
It's one of those things where like they try really hard to put all the ABBA songs to connect them, but it just sort of seems kind of weird because the movie with its big budget is like community theater. It's like a community theater of like, someone once said to me, it's like wine moms enjoying ABBA songs and doing karaoke.
Okay, that's an interesting description, yeah.
And someone said, I love it. I want to see my mom singing Dancing Queen.
And now isn't Pierce Brosnan in that?
Yeah.
And I think I think I read something that he sings it badly. That's a couple of people sing badly in it. I don't know.
Yeah. That's the reason why a lot of people like. It's more of a cult success in my opinion because Mamma Mia, they, if you ever feel like being a musical artist, let's say you don't have the greatest voice, you go watch Mamma Mia and you'll feel better.
Okay, interesting take on that. What else we got? Let's find another entertainment story that's
oh Lord,
not too
We have a lot, but some of these stories. Oh, Carol Baskin's getting her own TV series.
Oh no! What kind of series?
Like a documentary
on her life.
Yeah, she decided I'm going to take back the narrative, and that's one thing I wanted to say real quick was that one, because I know that the other news stories they deserve a whole segment, but we have guests.
Yes, we have guests coming up on next segment. Clifford Bell, my buddy, producer, singer, and I'm just filmed the other day a virtual concert, Virtually Yours. He's going to talk about that and some other stuff in just a bit on the Desert Scene.
Bonnie and Brayan continue with the Desert Scene on Radio 111. Here they are.
And we're back on the Desert Scene, and we're now joined by my good friend and very talented producer, singer, all-around good guy, Clifford Bell. Hey, Clifford, how are you?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good. So, Virtually Yours is up online. I watched it last night. I really was happy with it. Were you happy with the final product?
Yeah. Did you get to watch yourself? You were fabulous.
Oh, thank you. I sure did. It was really fun. So tell people about, you've been doing this, this has been, I don't know how many of these you've done, but this started back when the pandemic hit, right? You doing these virtual shows?
Yeah, about 6 months into the pandemic, my friend Michael Collum and my friend Michael Collum, who's a great pianist, called me and said, I'm going out of my mind stir crazy being alone in my house with nothing to do. And we were both used to doing a lot of shows. You know, I'm a very prolific producer, and before the pandemic, I would do 3 to 4 or 5 shows a month. And so all of a sudden to not have any music in our lives, so we said, how can we do something safe that would be fun? So Michael has a nice house here in Hollywood, and so we pushed the grand piano to the screen porch and started having backyard concerts with no audience. And we filmed them and then put them online. And we did three of them over the last year with great performers like Julie Garnier, who was in Come From Away on Broadway, and Les Mis, and Rena Strober, who was in Fiddler on Broadway and Les Mis, and Mary Bogue, who's a really popular jazz singer around town, and just really great performers. And then this last few months, Michael bought a beautiful house in Rancho Mirage.
It is gorgeous.
And we thought, well, let's do one in Palm Springs. So I called 2 of my favorite people in Palm Springs, you and Glenn Rosenblum, and we did one last weekend, and it was so fun. And it just got posted last night.
Yeah, and so what kind of, are you tracking, do you track the views? Are you getting lots and lots of views?
Well, it's YouTube, so it shows you how many views there are, but I didn't put it up till like midnight last night, and I think when I checked, there were only like 10. Yeah. But it, I literally put it up at midnight, so I don't think people have had a chance to see it yet. Yeah. But anybody that wants to find it on YouTube, they can look up Virtually Yours, Michael Clifford, Bonnie, Glenn, Ava, and Charlotte. That's how it's titled. Okay. So you can find it easily.
So what else are you working on? I know, because things are starting to open up. So have you got a lot of stuff in the works at this point?
Well, the main thing I've been doing over the last year, because we've just been rehearsing until recently, we finally got to perform it. A woman I've worked with for many years, probably 15 or so years, used to perform in a nightclub act as part of a singing group behind Debbie Reynolds. And her name is Lois Vaughan, and I've done probably 10 major shows with her. She's a really talented, wonderful woman. And this year during the pandemic, we said, well, let's finally do that Debbie Reynolds tribute show. So we put together a show called You Are My Lucky Star, My Life Working with Debbie Reynolds. And we got Debbie's son, Todd Fisher, Terry's brother. And Lois and he are friends from 40 years ago, and Todd supported us completely, offered us film clips and photos and everything. And we put the show together and then performed it at Catalina Jazz Club a few weeks ago. And that was the very first thing since March of last year that I was able to do in a club for a paying audience, for real people, a full crowd.
Yeah.
And because everything I've done for the last year or so has either been private rehearsals or filming without an audience. So it was so fun to be back having a real show.
What did you have a pretty big crowd? And I mean, people are now so desperate to get out. Yeah.
Yeah, packed. We were smart because we did a brunch, which, the Debbie Reynolds name sort of brought an older crowd. So we did a brunch, and it was packed.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to say we're going to do it in Palm Springs or I guess you call it Palm Desert. We're doing it at the Arthur Newman Theater at Jocelyn Center for the Les Michaels Cabaret Series.
Yes.
Thanksgiving weekend. We're the Sunday of Thanksgiving weekend, November 28th.
Excellent. Yay.
And I believe it's at 3 o'clock. The way Les works those things, the doors open at 2 to get your seats, and then the show starts at 3. And he asks for them to be about an hour and 15 minutes long at the most.
Yeah.
So,
So
you're doing one of those, aren't you?
I am, yeah. I got into the tail end, so mine's in May. I think May. Yeah, he's extended it because more people want to do so. I think I'm May. I forget the date. Second weekend in May, I think, something like that.
All right. Well, maybe if I'm lucky, I'll be able to work on that with you.
Yeah, it's called Torch. I did it once at the Palm Desert Library Series, Sunday Sounds, with the late Brian Miller. God rest his soul, but he was fabulous. I was so lucky to work with him. But
I knew Brian for 35 years.
Yeah.
We were very good friends.
Yeah.
I loved Brian.
Yeah, wonderful guy. But the one I'm doing in May, I'm going to do with Mark Caney. And I'm really excited about that.
Oh, great. I love him.
Fabulous. He really is. So I want to ask you, Clifford, what makes, and I may have asked you this before, but it's been a long time, what makes, in your opinion, a good cabaret producer? What skills do you have to be good at that?
Well, I'll tell you, the thing that I feel is my greatest asset as a cabaret producer is that I'm highly individualized. It's like a lot of times when people are in show business and do a lot of volume productions, you want to there's a tendency for people to fall into kind of like a formula, like this is how we do it. We get we make this picture and we pick these songs, and then it's up tempo ballad and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And you put a little formula together and you go, and that's how you make a show. But I've never done that. I'm very big on keying into an individual person's personality and strengths and weaknesses. And like everybody is their own flavor. Everybody is the star of their own movie. And so my shows are wildly, wildly different. I like one show that I'm very proud of that I've done over the last couple of years is I put together a show with a 32-year-old woman who has autism, who tells the story of how the music of Disney has drawn her out of her autism isolation and helped her be a better communicator. And she's a fabulous singer. And so we do this show called Part of Your World because she relates to the Little Mermaid wanting to come up from out of the ocean.
Yeah.
And tell that story. And then, Lois with her Debbie Reynolds story. Or, I had one very Queenie, funny comedian guy who had this wild background of a life of being a telephone psychic and a phone sex operator and a Beverly Hills shampoo boy and, a million funny jobs. And we did a funny show by a guy named Paul Jasek. We did a funny show called Secrets of a Beverly Hills Shampoo Boy. And it was hilarious, But each of these shows could not be more different from each other, So it's understanding how to present a personality.
Yeah.
As uniquely as you can.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember. My friend Jerome Elliott told me this, and I don't know that he got it from somebody else, but his quote, I think, something like, "The art of cabaret is being yourself on stage on purpose," or something like that. Yeah.
Well, and the essential motto of what acting is all about is being private in public.
Right. Right. Mm-hmm.
knowing how to like show intimacy in front of people.
Yeah. So I know you also are a wonderful performer and singer. Now, do you have any? I know you do produce shows, and sometimes you do a couple songs. But are you thinking about a show, your own show, coming up anytime soon?
I appreciate you asking. It was so funny when I heard your promotions for what you wrote on Facebook, and then what you said when the show started. This show today started. You said producer and singer, and it's still sort of funny for me to be identified as a singer. I began as a singer a million years ago in my early 20s. I was very serious about it and worked a lot. I have a brother who's very successful in the music business, so right out of the gate, I was working with a band that members from my band were with Al Jarreau and Earth, Wind and Fire, and I just had this all-star band as a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
But in my late 20s, I sort of decided I liked behind the scenes better, and I've pursued that for the last 30, 40 years. And it was only the last maybe 10 or so that I started to sing a little bit more myself because I love it. I just love doing it so much. And, these Virtually Yours things became a vehicle for me to, I deal myself into that deck. I'm always a performer in these Virtually Yours things, which I'm not usually. So I do love doing it. I don't consider it my front burner. And maybe someday I'll do my own whole thing, but it's the last thing on my mind for the most part. Did you like my songs in this most recent?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. And it's interesting. I was talking to somebody else about this the other night. I think what I find fascinating, what I really love to see is performers, a lot of performers friends that I know, especially when you get to a certain age, you get past 50, whatever, a lot of times priorities change a little bit, you become more spiritual, and you're still performing, but it's not all about ego, awards, it's applause. It's like that's one piece of it, but then a lot of us branch out into other things. You produce, I write theater reviews, I do the show, I teach voiceover students. It's fun to have diversify and still keep your hand in the but it's not about I want to be on stage 24 hours a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I get as much satisfaction out of all the other things that I do that it's not about just singing. And when I was a singer, when that was what I was trying to do in the world, I was very high strung. I was very nervous singer. I was very self-conscious singer. And I took it very seriously, and I did well, but I was a wreck.
Yeah.
I was always, it was life and death every time, and
it's not worth it. Yeah.
I was super neurotic, and one of the nice things about this last thing we did last weekend is I chose songs that I just really wanted to sing. Each one of them was connected to a story that I wanted to tell.
Yes.
And it wasn't about me. It was just like, Michael, let's make a pretty song.
Yeah.
And it was a whole different experience.
Yeah. Let's get this in. So Virtually Yours, you can find on YouTube. Tell them how to find it again real quick.
The title of it that you can look up is Virtually Yours, Michael, Clifford, Bonnie, Glenn, Ava, and Charlo.
Okay.
And I'm sure that if you put Virtually Yours, Michael Clifford, you'll get it.
Yeah, you'll get it. And also, the Debbie Reynolds Show will be at the Arthur Newman Thanksgiving weekend that Sunday. Yes?
Yes, November 28th, 3 o'clock show.
And I think it's $15 cash at the door, I believe. Is that what
I believe that's it. I don't have it in front of me, but I believe so.
I think that's it, yeah. Well, Clifford, I'm so good, and I'm definitely, we're down the road, we on in the back burners someday, we're going to be doing this Dusty Springfield show that you're hopefully going to work on me with, because I'm looking forward to that. But thank you so much for all of your...
I know, Bonnie, can I just tell you that I think you are just so fabulous and talented and gorgeous, and I just love working with you. I really look forward to. I hope we get to do that Dusty Springfield show that we've talked about together.
Yes.
And I also want to tell you, I listened to the show from the beginning, and I love Brayan. He was hilarious.
Okay. Okay. He's smiling. Okay. Clifford Bell, thank you so much. We love you.
And I love Amanda McBroom. I hear you have her on.
Actually, she's going to be in next week. She's traveling, but we're going to have her at some point. All right. Love
She's
you.
Great.
Take care, Clifford Bell. All right. We'll be back with more on the Desert Scene in just a bit.
From musical theater to literature and all the other stuff we enjoy in between, making desert life so vibrant. You're listening to Bonnie G and Brayan Mendoza and the Desert Scene on Radio 111. Here's Bonnie and Brayan.
So we have some updates about the Helena Hodgkin situation. I was going to save them for the next hour, but you know what? We're on that topic this hour. And you know what? We have to talk about it.
It's big. So updates. What do we got?
Updates. So Peter Surza, the director of the film, has released a statement saying that she was a kind, bright, vibrant, incredibly talented, fought for every inch, and always pushed me to the best. In regards to cinematographer, he's also said that he was gutted by the loss of his friend, and that his thoughts are with the family at the time. And Matt Hodgkins, Helena's husband, has finally put out a statement. Well, he put it out yesterday, but I was not able to catch it until recently because, the news on this is very wild. Like, I don't know how to put it, but like there's some details I'm even learning right now.
And it's changing all the time, updating.
Yeah, because some I don't know if you've seen it, but like some segments will focus on Alec Baldwin, some segments will focus on her, some segments will focus on
gun safety on sets.
Safety.
Yeah,
and it's just a lot.
So what does the husband say?
So he posted a picture of her with their son, I believe, and it said, "Helena inspired us all with her passion and vision, and her legacy is too meaningful to encapsulate in words. Our loss is enormous, and we ask that the media please respect my family's privacy as we process our pain, our grief. We thank everyone for sharing images and stories of her life." And there have been a couple people expressing condolences, a couple people in Hollywood, but her team said in a joint statement yesterday, she decided early on she would take the craft of cinematography by storm. In the last couple of years proved she was well on her way. Her talent was immense, only surpassed by the love she had for her family. All those in her orbit knew what was coming. A star director of photography who would be a force to be reckoned with. And then someone said, Surza said this, the director said he was humbled and grateful by the outpouring of affection we have received from the filmmaking community, the people of Santa Fe, and the hundreds of strangers who have reached out. And it's just it's a thing where like the mentors of AFI are going to establish a scholarship to honor her memory and aspiring female cinematographers.
That's great.
The idea is that if you want to help her out, or not if you want to keep her memory alive,
that's a great legacy for her.
Yeah. And the idea is, please begin. If you are somebody that's thinking about sending some funds to a film-related industry, I think the AFI Helena Hodgkins Fund,
send them there. Yeah.
Send them there. But that is a tragedy. And for those of you who want to like see movies that Helena Hodgkins has done, she did an independent 2019 movie called Darling, directed by Pollyanna McIntosh. It's considered a social issue horror film, and it's from what I've been told, it's a pretty good movie. I haven't seen it personally, but if you want to support, there's that. And also there's the movie Arch Enemy, which came out in 2020 last year. It's a independent superhero movie, so and it got some really good reviews. So it seems so far that she was going down this path of making a lot of like independent experimental movies. I think
she was 42. I think I read somewhere.
40. Yes, exactly. 42. Yeah. And that is a tragedy.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to say again, rest in peace to her. But those are some updates. We'll bring them on as they come on.
This is going to be a story for a while. Definitely. Yeah.
And I think that if anything, I'm curious if anything about what the family is going to do, and
I just hope some changes are made. It's like it's like some cities that there's a dangerous intersection, and they have to have 3 fatal crashes before they put up a traffic light. But I mean, better late than never. But it's just sad.
And I think honestly, I'm going to make a prediction. I'm going to probably be wrong on this, so most likely wrong. I think the ATSI strike I think we might get another version of it coming up soon, because this is a case where
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the union looks at this and say, you know what, we went on strike for this before. Let's talk again, because clearly we're not working out.
And I know it sounds cliched, but it applies to so many things. For some people, it's just all about the almighty dollar. And you know what? That's really not the most important. Again, how many planes, jets can you have? How many yachts can you have? How many Lamborghinis can you drive? Money is not the answer to everything. It's really not, especially not to choose that over life and death and safety of your crew.
And also, how many people have to die on set
until something gets changed? Yeah.
And also, I mean, it's one of those things where the Yahtzee union had already talked about how exhausting it is, how overworked they were.
And these were problems.
These were problems, COVID and all that. And I'll talk about it next hour, but there's a crew of a movie, a cast of a movie that recently had to be told not to go to any more events because of COVID, and I'll talk about that next hour. But we got to keep our movies safe, and we got to keep people safe, because
what's more important?
Yeah, and there's a reason why the theater world doesn't have these types of accidents.
Okay. All right, we'll talk about that much more. We'll have some other great guests coming up next hour on the Desert Scene. We'll be back in a bit.
From architecture to painting and sculpture, literature to live music and theater, Radio 111 presents Bonnie G. and Brayan Mendoza with The Desert Scene, your connection to culture and entertainment in the desert cities. Here's Bonnie and Brayan.
And we are back on the Desert Scene, and we're now joined by another buddy of mine who's been on the show many times, David Perry, who's, first of all, a wonderful author, has a best-selling book out, but is also a great PR guy, and there's a bunch of stuff going on. How are you doing, David?
Well, ahoy, Bonnie. Thank you for that lovely introduction. I can retire now.
So you're involved in a bunch of stuff. I know Hedwig and the Angry Itch over at Desert Rose Playhouse. Tell me what's going on. And I mean, things are starting to open up. We're trying to still be safe, but there's a lot of stuff cooking. So what's going on?
Well, there are. The October, as you know, is always the season in Palm Springs. And because of post-COVID, we've been waiting a long time for a bunch of good stuff. The first thing, big deal, the first performance since COVID shut it down for Desart Performs next Wednesday, the 27th, for 4 shows only, Girlfriend. It's a musical. It's about 2 guys who fall in love in high school. And I keep saying to people, this is a unique experience because it's dinner and a show. Wonderful food provided by Lulu Catering. The cast, Eddie Vaughna and Kyle Hester, are married. So we have 2 husbands playing boyfriends in a musical called Girlfriend. And I'm going to be there opening night at the Rancho Mirage Amphitheater. First outdoor performance for Desart Performs, a really big deal. Then in December, everyone's been asking me, is Asia SF Palm Springs coming back? And the answer is yes. They're already doing live events. They did the opening and closing show for the Dinah. And sometime in December, I can't say the exact date yet, but you can take it to the bank. The lovely transgender ladies of Asia SF will be back on stage. And then, of course, the Purple Room, where Frank Sinatra and Dean and Sammy, the Rat Pack, first performed. They're doing so well, they are actually adding Monday shows starting in November. And the thing that I keep telling people about is don't miss November 5th and 6th, the premiere of Amanda McBroom, the composer, triple threat who wrote The Rose. She's going to be there for 2 shows only.
Excellent. Yeah, and I love that song. I've done that song a million times, Amanda McBroom. Yes, so much going on. Let's go back to Asia. Tell people, because some people may not be familiar with that. And first of all, it was very successful other places, and now they brought that concept here in Palm Springs. Tell us a little bit about it.
That's right. Yeah, Asia SF is a cabaret dinner theater. Started in San Francisco over 20 years ago, wildly successful. Open Table has judged it one of the top 100 restaurants in the country. And so January 2020, Larry Hashbarger, the founder, brought it down here. It's dinner and a show, and all the performers are transgender women. So it's not just amazing entertainment with these incredible entertainers, but it really is about how you can be your authentic self. I mean, it is really not just about society. It's about socialization. So it's come here to Palm Springs. It opened in January 2020 and closed 6 weeks later. You know, as a PR guy, I was so proud. Someone said, "You did the biggest opening in 10 years." And I said, "Yeah, then the biggest pandemic in 100 shut it down."
Yeah. And Amanda McBroom, now, is this her first time at the Purple Room?
You know, I want to say it is, but I'm not sure about that. I should know. It's sort of the first time in a long time. And I'm excited because in addition to, we actually represented her. About 12 years ago, she was at the Bay Area Cabaret in San Francisco. And I have represented dozens of performers over the years. Never lucky enough to represent you, unfortunately, Bonnie. But Amanda McBroom, some people call the greatest cabaret singer of her generation. Also an actress. Since I'm a sci-fi nut, I'm excited because she played a Starfleet captain on Star Trek once.
Okay. Excellent. And by the way, you know, you mentioned the Purple Room Mondays because two of my good friends are going to be starting Monday, November 8th, Charles Herrera and Keisha D. I'm doing a show with Charles Herrera right now. We opened last night at Desert Ensemble Theater Company, Reunited, and It Feels So Good was our concert fundraiser. It's last night, tonight, and Sunday matinee. And Charles is in that. He's fabulous. And, of course, Keisha D is fabulous. So they're going to be starting Mondays, November 8th. So that's going to be great.
It is. You know, I mean, I think I can join you in saying we're all ready to get back, you know, safely and do what we need to do. But there certainly is pent-up demand. I mean, I have been to the Purple Room several times since it reopened, and there's so many people there who dress up. It's one of the few places people dress up to go. It feels like you're stepping back into the Mad Men era. Yes,
absolutely. It's a one, and if you haven't been to the Purple Room, you really should check it out. I mean, there are national names like Amanda McBroom that come in on the weekends, but during the week there's some wonderful local entertainers where it's not ticketed. I mean, I think there's a drink minimum, but so it'll be Charles Herrera and Keisha D Mondays starting November 8th. Tuesdays, Rose Millette, wonderful jazz singer. She's fabulous.
Amazing.
Wednesdays, my dear buddy Darcy Daniels and my friend Michael Holmes, they do some Rat Pack music on Wednesday nights, and Thursdays, Sharon Sills, Va 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 Boom. I mean, they've got such great entertainment there.
It does. And, of course, on Sundays, the classic, the Judy Show. With, you know, where else do you get to see Judy Garland, Betty Davis, sometimes Joan Crawford, and Tallulah Bankhead on stage all at the same time? I mean, it's, you know, it's life after death. I mean, it's an amazing show. And I keep telling people, if you think you can wait until the day before to get tickets, you can't.
Think again. Yeah.
And that's why I'm really pushing Amanda McBroom, because she's going to sell out. And I am so excited she's coming back. I'm telling people, go to purpleroompalmsprings.com right now and get your tickets for Amanda McBroom, November 5th and 6th.
Yeah, and Michael Holmes has become a really good friend of mine. And I have not seen the Judy Show yet, but I promised him sometime in the next month when I, you know, schedules and budget, I'm going to go see the Judy Show. Now, let's talk about your book for just a second. Upon This Rock. What bestseller lists are you on now?
Well, it is legitimately a bestseller. It right now is at the Frankfurt Book Fair in Germany, which is the world's largest book fair. It's a 5-day event in Germany, and they are trying to get the European rights for my book to translate it into Italian. And right now we have someone who's turning it into a screenplay, knock wood.
Excellent.
We are trying to get an option for a film, but it won 2 awards. Best Gay Novel of the Year from the San Francisco Book Festival, a big deal, and also a silver medal from the prestigious Independent Book Publishers Association. I was just over at Q Trading on Sunny Dunes signing 4 more copies because all the ones they had sold out. So it's a gay mystery thriller, noir, set in Italy with 2 good-looking young heroes based on No One I Know. What's not to like?
And you know what? It's so funny because when I read it, probably a third of the way through, I thought, boy, would this be a great movie. So that absolutely it should be a film. Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. You know, Armistead Maupin, the author of Tales of the City, has called it an elegant, twisty thriller. Fenton Johnson, best-selling author, called it the gay Da Vinci Code, but a lot better. And Jan Wall, who I know you know, Emmy Award-winning Hollywood reporter, says, I'm already casting the movie. So from your mouth to God's ears, hopefully it'll be on screen. And I'll get you in. And when you want to come to see the Judy Show, Bonnie, I know the PR guy. Call me because it's a hot ticket.
Okay. Now, do you have ideas? You must, as an author. Do you have ideas about casting for the book? Your dream leads?
I do. There is a wonderful character in the book called Lady Peg, who she's kind of a bitchy gossip writer in Orvieto, Italy.
Yeah.
And I think Parker Holland, who was incredible in Hollywood, I think she would be brilliant.
Yes.
And also there's an elderly, actually a woman who's in her 90s, Italian baker, who here's what my husband Alfredo Cazuso thought would be perfect, because she's the right age now and she's Italian, Sophia Loren.
Wow.
And those are two of my wish lists. So if you know Parker Holland or Sophia Loren, give them a call.
Unfortunately, I don't. How about the guys? How about a couple of the male leads?
Well, that's harder for me. I would love to know what you think, because one is a 30-year-old guy from the South, and the other is a 27-year-old gentleman from Spain. There's that wonderful actor from Spain who's been getting a lot of attention right now. Jan Wall mentioned him in a text to me, and I can't remember his name now, but one of your viewers or listeners would know who I'm talking about. I've had lots of people texting me saying, what about this? What about this? So I'm hoping we cast it soon. Keep your fingers crossed.
I will, absolutely. Are you? Brian has a question for you.
No, I was going to say I just recognized who our guest was, because I was like, because I was so depressed about something earlier that I was like, I totally forgot. I was like, sorry, David. Sorry for not recognizing you. Hello, how are you doing?
But, I'm fine. How are you? Have you read the book yet?
No, I'm actually in the middle of it. I actually was reading it, and the only reason I had to put it down was because I have to read something for class for for university. So I was like, I really want to read this instead. I don't want to read. I don't want to read Christopher Columbus. That's literally what I had to read.
Yeah. I got it. Well, it's a mystery. I'm not going to give it away, but I will break a little bit of news, Bonnie. People have been asking me, is there a sequel? The answer is yes. The Upon This Rock is set in Italy, but the sequel starts in Palm Springs and includes a small town in Spain and then a little bit aboard ship. So there is a definite Palm Springs connection to the next book, which I've just begun working on.
I was just going to ask you if you were writing something else. That's fabulous.
I was gonna ask you, just out of curiosity, because I know there's been a lot of discourse about gay actors and gay roles. I was gonna say, do you have a preference for gay actors to play the male parts in your story? Just because I'm just curious if you have a preference.
Would it matter to you?
It wouldn't matter to me, and I have heard both sides of the issue. To me, what's important is someone who resonates with the role. And as a gay man who's about to celebrate a big birthday with a 0 on the end, 60, I'll just admit it, November 1st is my 60th
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. When I was a young person, the idea that an actor could play any role and be out gay was not wise and not smart and sometimes dangerous. So all I want is someone who thinks that these characters are important, have something to say. The theme of the book is refugees. In a sense, we're all refugees from something. I want actors and actresses who, one, are, if they're not LGBTQ, they are allies of the LGBT community.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, I just popped into my head. I was trying to think of his name. You mentioned, it's been a while since I've read the book, and it was fabulous. But we said one guy, it's Southern, right? What about, in 30s, what about Edward Norton?
Oh, of course. Yes. That would be perfect.
Okay.
I think he'd be great.
Okay.
And, the one person that sadly is not alive, when I was writing the books, and there's the evil bishop in the book, as you know, in my brain, I had Alan Rickman, Snape in all the Harry Potter series.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
For the evil bishop, I need someone like Alan Rickman. That's who I would.
I don't know if the age matters, but Jeremy Irons, maybe. Like, I was thinking about that because Jeremy Irons is kind of like Alan Rickman-esque.
A little more refined, reserved, but maybe.
Yeah. I am ashamed to say I hadn't thought of that. Him playing the Pope in the Borgia series, chewing up the scenery, killing people left and right. This is perfect for Bishop Arnaud.
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
Wow. So do you have I know it's a pressure on you, do you have a target date for when you're hoping to finish the sequel?
Well, like I said, I've barely just started, but my goal is to have the first draft done by the middle of next year. I have the plot already in my brain, so we are actively working on it, and I'm really excited. The book is doing well. We're going to be doing a reading in December here at PS Homeboys, another live reading and book signing.
Okay.
I'm also doing an event for my friends who will be in San Francisco in November at Manny's in the Mission, and I've done a bunch of virtual readings. So it's going well, knock wood.
Fabulous. And so, and again, so much coming up here. First performance, Desart, The Girlfriend, outside at the Rancho Maggio Amphitheater. Then Asia SF. Then also Amanda McBroom at the Purple Room, November 5th and 6th. So much going on. Thank you, David Perry, for being here as always. Continued success with your novel, and thanks for supporting and promoting so much great stuff in the desert.
You great. We'll see you on stage.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you, David. All right.
And don't forget to buy David's book on Amazon.
Upon This Rock.
Upon
yes.
This Rock by David Perry. It's available where books are sold.
Fabulous.
So support. It's a great book.
All right. We'll be back with more in just a bit.
He likes to read. She likes to sing and act. They both love the Coachella Valley. And they love talking about the desert scene with you on Radio 111. Here's Bonnie G and Brayan Mendoza.
We got a couple celebrity deaths to coming up, and as much this is kind of becoming the death and despair show, sadly. But
Well, we'll mix it up a little.
we'll mix it up, of course, of course. Laurie Von Trapp Campbell of the original Sound of Music family, the Von Trapp family singers, has passed away at 90 years old. The Von Trapps are, well, the basis for the original film and musical show, The Sound of Music, a family that sung together. That it was a mixed family. A nun that came in to be the
nanny, whatever.
Yes,
Yeah.
the nanny for these kids, and overall they escaped Germany. And it wasn't through the hills; it was just simply taking a bus. It was funny because
it looks better in the movie to climb over the mountain. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and overall, the family, for the most part, has been lived a fairly successful life because they just sang,
still kept their music,
kept singing and all that. I have heard people say that they're really good singers live. That the real family is actually really good. So and Laurie Von Trapp, she passed away pretty recently at 90. And
90, that's a good life.
That's a good life.
Yeah.
It's so much history.
Oh my gosh, amazing, yeah. Peter Scolari, though, Bosom Buddies, 66, way too young. It was cancer, wasn't it, I think?
I believe so. I mostly know him from episodes of the Newhart show. That I
remember him, from that,
that's mostly it. I mean, I also remembered him. He actually won an Emmy for playing Tad Horvath on Girls. That's where I know him as. I know him as the closeted gay dad of Hannah Horvath on Girls.
Okay.
And I gotta say, it was a really sweet performance when I saw it. And so for me, like he really was possibly one of the better aspects of that show, because that show was.
I never saw Girls. Okay.
I don't know if you would like Girls, just because Girls is one of those shows that's very like. It's very calm and outrageous in a way that you might not like it. For you, I won't recommend it, but for our audience, it's a good show. Like I know you. I was leukemia. He passed away from leukemia in Manhattan at age 66, and he actually had been diagnosed 2 years earlier. So what a shame. And he has been. For the most part, he's mostly been a TV actor, but he was also on the Polar Express. In the movie The Polar Express as Billy the Lonely Boy. So he's had quite a career. And also, and I'm not familiar with this gentleman, Gary Paulson, author of Hatchet, was died at 82. I'm not familiar with either Hatchet or him. Oh, Hatchet's is really, it's a pretty good book. For the most part, it's Hatchet is a young adult novel. It's a survival book about this young boy that is going through a rough time, and he's trying to survive out in the woods, basically. Okay. And it was the basis of a movie called A Cry in the Wild. It's yeah, so it's also, I think it also got made, it got some sequels. I was trying to say, like, did it get another movie? No, it's Cry in the Wild. But Hatchet was such a big success, and most people know, if of a certain age demographic, like after 1990, a lot of kids grew up with that book. Like, so if you're not familiar with it, don't feel bad. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed, no, because it is one of those. It's a seminal novel for a group, and Gary Paulson, rest in peace, all three of them. And again, a lot going on in terms of that. And
can we just talk for a moment about, because this is interesting. Someone is trying to ban Toni Morrison's books from schools as being pornographic.
Oh yeah. So if you have you ever read Beloved or any of those books?
I read part of Beloved and I just never finished it. But I think some of it's a little raw, I guess, when you're talking about her life and things that happened.
So it's funny because Hatchet's actually they've been trying to ban that book too because of how rough it is. But so basically what happened was that the Daily Beast reported that this woman, Victoria Manning of the Virginia Beach School Board, said that they sent an email saying that she was demanding that several pornographic books be removed from the circulation in the school's curriculum because she feels that some parents might find Toni Morrison's Beloved disturbing. Now, of course, there is an argument to be made if teenagers could really respect Beloved as a novel. Like I don't know if Beloved is necessarily like the best novel to read at 13. I think of it as a novel for 16, 17 year olds.
A little older, yeah.
So there is an argument about that part of the curriculum. I don't think the book itself is pornographic. She said that she pretty much demanded that the people who approved the book be suspended and disciplined.
Please.
She also added in the list Genderqueer by Maya Kobeny, A Lesson Before Dying by Ernest Gaines, The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison as well. And she also wanted to take out Lawn Boy by Jonathan Neveson, a story about a young Chicano boy trying to achieve the American dream. So to me, it seems like she wants a certain kind of author.
Absolutely. That's what I was just thinking.
She wants a certain kind of author and certain kind of books instead of books that, quite frankly, I think a lot of kids could connect with because, you know what? Not all your students are a certain type.
I mean, I understand something being age appropriate. Yes, that's fine. If you want to make it age appropriate, but that's different from banning something and censoring or punishing somebody. Here's the thing. Education is not always supposed to be comfortable.
No, you're right.
That's not what education is.
And also, I mean, sure, and even if age appropriate, it could be like, what age can a teenager appreciate a work as opposed to because I think a teenager can love Beloved and The Bluest Eye. It's just how old can they be? Are they mature enough to appreciate it as art?
And part of education is learning how to think for yourself.
Yes, and also not trying to push your own
agenda on everybody else. Yeah,
and you know what? We have guests coming up.
Yes. All right. We're going to talk to Chuck Yates in just a bit on the Desert Scene. We'll be right back.
Bonnie and Brayan continue with the Desert Scene on Radio 111. Here they are.
And we're back on the Desert Scene, and now we're joined by another friend of mine, just a great guest today, Chuck Yates, who is directing the next production at Desert Rose Playhouse, Hedwig and the Angry Itch. Hey, Chuck, how are you?
Bonnie, I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. So this is exciting. So tell us how this came about, and so you've started rehearsals already, I'm imagining.
Yes, we have. We actually going to Tech next week, so we're getting close.
So for people who don't know, I actually saw this in San Diego with some friends a couple years back. Tell people a little bit about the story of the show.
Hedwig and the Angry Inch is. I was interested in it because I had seen it, and it's a different kind of show. It's sort of a rock opera kind of rock show kind of play, and it's about an East German transsexual rock singer, punk singer, and it's got so many layers to it. It's like an onion. I'm in rehearsals, and every day we find something new, and it's just such an exciting process for me. It's completely different than anything else I've done. So that was the big drawing point for me when they asked me, and I'm having a blast, man.
Good.
I'm having a blast.
Were you surprised to get the offer?
I've been surprised by so many things. in in the past 18 months,
Yeah.
19 months, whatever, closing Coyote Stageworks was an interesting period of time. And listen, Robbie and Matt over at the Desert Rose, I mean, when they heard that we were closing, Robbie called me and he said, look at the schedule, anything you want to direct, let me know. And I was like, okay. I said, I think I'm moving out of the desert, so I don't know what's happening in my life at the moment.
Yeah.
And then I decided not to do that, and I asked him about Hedwig, and he said, it's yours if you want it. And I was like, great.
That's fabulous. So tell us about the two leads, starring Nicholas Sloan and Jamie Lee Walker. So tell us a little bit about them and the casting process.
Well, first of all, Nicholas and Robbie had been talking about Hedwig way before I was involved. But so when Robbie told me it was Nicholas and Jamie, I had actually worked with Nicholas before on one of our, at Coyote, one of our play reading series, and he did an Edward Albee play that I loved, and I had directed that. And he ended up winning, a Desert Star for that reading. And listen, Jamie and Nick they have come into rehearsals and they have so many ideas. They are so easy to work with. It makes my job so much easier than in some other cases, but they came in prepared and they are rocking this.
Yeah. Yeah. And now tell us about, have you directed a lot of musicals in the past? I mean, it's a lot of...
I have not.
Okay.
I mostly direct plays, and I love the text, and I love delving into the text. But the story of Hedwig was so interesting, and it was and telling that story and making sure that story comes through clearly with the music was what made it very intriguing to me. So this is a fun time.
And and I'm looking at you, your musicians. So do you are your musicians sort of co-musically directing with you, or you feel confident enough of yourself as sort of a musical director as well?
Well, we have Constance Gordy, who has come in.
Oh, she's fabulous. Yes.
Yeah, she's come in and she's helped with the harmonies and all of that kind of stuff. And the band, it's Miguel Arbello's band, and we heard them for the first time last week, and I got so excited because these guys know what they're doing.
Excellent.
And, because this is not like, a Stephen Sondheim musical.
No.
This is not like Rodgers and Hammerstein. This is like, a full-on rock band on stage.
Yeah.
And these guys are killing it.
Excellent. So tell me about, is this kind of like I know you've gone through a metamorphosis the last 18 months, closing Coyote and that. Is this like kind of the sort of the perfect, came along at the perfect time in your life and your creative life to have this opportunity?
Yeah, it did actually, because, when we closed Coyote back in June, I didn't know what was next. I seriously did not know what was next. And like I said, I was planning on moving away. And then I decided against that. But Robbie and Matt's invitation to kind of do whatever I wanted was great because, I'm having my own theater company for the past 14 years. I got to do what I wanted to do. And so, that's a lot to let go of.
Yes.
But these guys have been so welcoming and so great. And so, I just said to them, I said, I went to Europe back in September, and I said, yes, I will do it. I'm going to Europe. We will talk when I get back. And that's what we did.
Now, so do you, right now, are you kind of playing it by ear, or do you have sort of a step-by-step plan on what you see as the future in the next couple of years?
My deal with myself was when like I said, I packed up like 3/5 of my apartment and then decided I wasn't moving. And then my deal with myself was I accepted Hedwig, and I was going to Europe, and I was like, I'll deal with this all when I get back. I need to go. I need a vacation. I need to go see my boyfriend who lives in Belgium, and we haven't been able to see each other in so long because of COVID.
Yeah.
And my deal was I'm just going to deal with it all when I get back. And in that, I talked to David Green at MTU, where I'd been teaching for 7 years, and I told him I was not moving. So he said, I have not filled your job, so please come back. And on top of that, I'm going to be directing, I think in February, a production of The Glass Menagerie for MTU.
Okay.
Which is one of my all-time favorite plays. And Joyce Bulifant is going to play the mother.
Oh, that's great.
That's great.
With students playing her son and daughter and the gentleman caller.
Oh, that's great.
So that's going to be a very fun, interesting little exercise. And like I said, I think that's in February. But he asked me if I wanted to do that, and I was like, yes. So, I went to Europe knowing that I was still teaching, and I had 2 shows to direct, and we'll go from there.
Now,
Brian has a question.
I was going to say, I wanted to ask you specifically about the play now. Like, I know that this musical, I was going to say play, my bad, musical has had a lot of discourse on how it depicts gender dynamics, gender roles, gender performance. And I wanted to see, was there any temptation on your end to update it or to change what's already different from the established text? How does your version commentate on the discourse, if it does at all? How does Hedwig's gender get presented in your version of the show?
Well, it is, first of all, legally, we can't really change the text. That requires the playwright and the person who wrote the music to change that. We can't change that. We are just trying to present Hedwig, the character, as a person with their circumstances. It is not a generalization of everybody else's circumstances. It's particularly Hedwig's circumstances. And it's his story, her story, their story. And, that's where we're jumping off from. And it was just done on Broadway a few years ago with Neil Patrick Harris. And I think the story holds up. Again, it's not a generalization of every transgender person's story. It happens to just be Hedwig's story.
One of the most interesting...
I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense because I was going to say, oh, that is true. How silly of me. Like, of course you can't change the text, but I think that there's always like casting decisions that are always interesting. Like Ali Sheedy played this part one time on Broadway, I believe, and it was such
Oh, she did?
Yeah, she played Hedwig on Broadway one time.
I didn't know that.
She played Hedwig off Broadway in the original production back about 20 years ago or whenever it was. When John Cameron Mitchell left, Ali Sheedy was one of the ones who came in and kept it going. But,
interesting.
There is all kinds of ways to cast this. Again, I was handed a cast, which I'm very happy with because I think Nick and Jamie are absolutely terrific. But yes, there's all kinds of things you can do with the casting with this, and and it's open to interpretation.
That's interesting. You just mentioned, as a director, you lucked out this time. I know directors in general are not thrilled about the concept of someone handing them a cast, right? They want to pick their own people. Have you had any other, when you own your own theater company, you can do whatever you want. But have you ever had another situation where you were handed a cast where it didn't work out so well?
No, actually, I would say I had some casting decisions in my own company. Excuse me. I had some casting, which I made the casting decisions. I had some casting decisions in my own company that, if I had to go back and do it again,
could change.
Again.
Yeah.
But Robbie said, that Nick and Jamie were doing it, and as I said, I had worked with them before, so I had worked with Nick before, so I knew that he's a very dedicated and talented person, and then Jamie is also, and so I wasn't really worried about it. If I had gone to Europe being told that there's 2 people in the cast that I didn't know, it might have been a different story.
Yeah.
I don't know them. I've never worked with them. And it could be, it could be, an issue, but it was not an issue. I left knowing that Nick and Jamie would come to the table really prepared, and they did.
Yeah. All right. Chuck Yates is directing Hedwig and the Angry Inch. I think I misspoke and said itch earlier. Inch, the Angry Inch. Nicholas Sloan and Jamie Lee Walker and a great band, and Constance Gordy helping out with the music. By the way, the run is November 4th through November 21st. Desert Road Playhouse, which is now at 611 South Palm Canyon Drive, Thursday through Sunday. 7 p.m. Friday and Saturday, 8 p.m. Sunday, 2 p.m. Tickets, you can go to www.desertroseplayhouse.org, or the box office is 760-202-3000. And if you haven't been to Desert Rose's new home, you got to check it out. They've done such a great job with that theater space.
So beautiful. Yeah, they've done a really good job.
Well, Chuck, congratulations, and I'm looking forward to seeing the show, and I'm glad you decided to stay in town. That's great.
Thank you. Oh, I just want to add that there is no show on Sunday, the first Sunday, which is Gay Pride Parade Day.
Okay. All right. Good to know.
Okay.
All right, Chuck Yates, thank you so much. Congratulations. We'll be back with more on the desert scene in a bit.
The Desert Scene on Radio 111. Cultural events and the people who make it happen in the desert cities with Bonnie G and Brayan Mendoza.
And we're back on the desert scene. I want to just mention real quick, I am doing a show this weekend for the Desert Ensemble Theater Company at the Palm Springs Cultural Center. Season 11 Scholarship Benefit Concert. It's called Reunited and It Feels So Good, with Darcy Daniels, Charles Herrera, Jerome Elliott, and Joel Baker on piano. And we had opening night last night, which was fabulous. We have a show tonight, 7 p.m., and tomorrow, 2 p.m. You can get tickets. You can call 760-565-2476, Palm Springs Cultural Center. It's really desertensembletheater.org. It's really a very fun, warm, uplifting musical show. I'm so excited to be part of it, and I hope that you'll check it out.
If I wasn't so busy with school, I'd go see you, but I'm
I know you got stuff going on. It's okay.
I was going to say, also, I wanted to plug in that in Palm Springs on Arena Street, October 31st, Sunday, there's going to be a Halloween event. Of course, there's a backstage pass there. That's $75. Not bad. You get an open bar, but you also get to have, I think, backstage access to all these singers. They have Debbie Holiday, Brian Justin Crum, Probe 7, Andrew Christian Fashion Show, Pulp Vixen, that's a good name, DJ Galaxy, and MCs Bella DeBall and Alexander Rodriguez with DJ Zareen. There's a tea dance from 4 to 6 and 6 to 10 with live music, and 8 p.m. for a costume contest, and you get to win $1,500. So if you got a good costume, go there.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, do you want to do if you don't have anything else, do you want to do pop culture?
Sure.
Pop culture.
Yes.
Today in pop culture.
Yes.
On October, what day is this one? October 22nd, which was yesterday. Well, maybe if you're listening to this later, it wasn't yesterday, but October 22nd.
We're live today.
We're live today. But the Supremes was the first all-women music group to make it at number 1 in 1966, October 22nd.
Good for them.
And I think the song was called A Go-Go Together. Oh, wait.
Okay.
I think that was the song. Yes.
Okay.
And they were the first one, and they still hold the record for America's most successful vocal group.
Wow. Okay.
And on October, I guess this is now pop culture history now.
Okay.
October 22nd, 2020, due to the coronavirus pandemic, the department store chain Macy's announced on this day in 2020 that Santa Claus would not be making any appearances. The first time that
ever in Macy's, yeah.
And it was a 159-year holiday tradition.
That was so sad.
And so it was ended. And so
is he coming back this year?
I believe so. I feel like it's one of those things where
wear a mask. He can wear a mask. The kids can wear a mask.
Wear a mask and all that. I think I've seen photos. I don't know if you saw, but like photos of like a glass. There'd be like a glass
behind a glass or whatever,
and all that. And I think there are ways to protect.
And they should do it because kids want to see Santa.
And they also said that that same year, I think it was also like Santa Claus making virtual engagements. But I think the sad thing is that there's so many kids that was their last year with Santa.
Yeah.
But on October 23rd, 1941, Dumbo premiered on the big screen.
Oh, I love Dumbo. He's so cute with his big ears.
Dumbo's one of my favorite Disney movies.
Yeah.
And Dumbo was actually a big success for the Disney company because at that time, Dumbo was the cheapest of the original 6 films, the first 6 films. And it actually was the first one other than Snow White to earn back its money the first time. Pinocchio, Fantasia
didn't.
They didn't.
Wow.
But believe it or not, they did become more successful. Like
Fantasia is, if you have never seen Fantasia, you really owe it to yourself to see it because it's fabulous.
Oh yeah, and I think that one's on Disney Plus right now, so go and watch it because if you
so fun and just well done.
And also, if you're a musical snob, you owe it to you're not. Don't walk around being a snob if you've never seen Fantasia.
It's a great piece of animated filmmaking. Just great.
And overall, like Dumbo being the first one made it to where Disney company was more successful during the war years because Fantasia and Pinocchio, even though they became way more popular later on, they didn't make a lot of money in the beginning, and it happens,
Yeah.
So surprisingly, and it doesn't even matter because they're so much more successful. But in 1969, on October 24th, which is tomorrow, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Wow. Premiered,
yes.
Wow.
In
Great
1969, movie. And that movie, I would definitely say, is one of those. It was a big deal because of how like it modernized like the Western genre.
And great buddy movie, buddy movie. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it just was this wild, fantastic movie. And like looking back at it, it may be a little bit slower now, but when it came out, it was fast paced. It was rough. It was strong little film. And then in 1893, the Good and Plenty Day. It was called there was a celebration called Good and Plenty Day. It's basically like it was the history of the licorice candy coated with the pink and white candy shell, which is the oldest candy in the world in American history. I don't know. I don't
like licorice. I'm not a licorice fan.
So this is what it looks like. Looks like pills.
Yeah, yeah. Which is probably not smart when you're talking about kids, because then kids can't distinguish between pills and candy. Yeah.
And so that was a day celebrating for that. Yeah. So that's our pop culture stuff.
All right. Thank you so much to our guests today, Chuck Yates, David Perry, Clifford Bell, all good friends of mine and wonderfully talented people. Woo. And we'll be keeping you updated on this Alec Baldwin shooting thing because it's not over.
No, and rest in peace, Helena Hutchins.
Tragedy.
So much to talk about.
Hopefully it will bring about some change. That's what we're going to hope for.
Hopefully. Yeah. But we'll see you next week.
See you next week.